Okay.
From one the other pieces, and it's kind of light.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, Peer Gynt is a play. It's a Norwegian play, and Peer Gynt is this Norwegian boy who leaves home and travels around the world. And so the play is all about his adventures, basically. And so that's why you get these pieces, you know, that are just so varied, because Peer Gynt goes to all these different places. So I don't know the whole story, you know, soup to nuts, but I know the basic premise. So at one point, and I don't remember how it happens, but he gets a lot of wealth, and he becomes very wealthy, and he meets this Anitra, who he's in Arabia, I think now, or somewhere there, and so she's an Arabian princess, and she dances for him to charm him, because she wants his money. And she gets the money, and then she chases him away afterwards. So the Anitra's dance, this is the piece where she's trying to charm him. So she's flirting with him, okay? So some of the pieces from Peer Gynt are have been choreographed, this one in particular. You'll see like in a ballet production or in a ballet recital where there's individual pieces. This is like one of the really famous ballet movements. And so that's the first thing, is that you want to kind of get that character and sort of think about what she's trying to accomplish here. Okay. The second thing to remember about this is orchestral music. So I think, and again, I'm not 100% sure about this, I think this is Greig's transcription for piano, but I don't know that for a fact. I would have to look it up. But in any case, the transcription was done not far off the time that Greig was doing this. So one of the things that I think would be really, really helpful is to listen to the orchestra version of this, because when you get pieces that are transcriptions of orchestra pieces, and sometimes it's even helpful when it goes in the other direction, and we'll talk about that in a second, but when you know what Greig was hearing as far as instrumentation, like for instance, when the strings pluck, when they play pizzicato versus bowed, versus short notes bowed, if the melody is played in a flute or in an oboe, how does it project? All of those kinds of things can give you some really valuable information as to what Greig was hearing and how you can translate that as well as possible to the piano. So that is sort of the next thing that I would suggest that you think about. So the opening chord is sort of an introduction, right? So, bum, and Anitra comes, and then she's like, okay, and does her sort of flirtatious dance. When you look at the beginning, let's take it right from the top, okay? So you have that big E major chord, okay, so play that. Then you have 4 measures of introduction. So try just your left hand for the next 4 measures. And then the melody will start, okay? So add your right hand now to those 4 measures. Right, okay, so what happens when you get there is that when you play your left hand alone, it sounds fine. As soon as your right hand comes in, your left hand runs for cover, all right? Don't worry about it. When you listen to the orchestra part, those are all going to sound the same. Okay, it doesn't sound like that bass thing and then something different. So these are all probably going to be strings, probably going to be pizzicato. Boom, 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 boom. So you want that to be a unified sound, okay, as if it's being played by one hand. All right, go ahead, try that again. Much better. That's it. It's sort of the complete opposite of what I was talking about with Duff, where she's playing with one hand and we want it to sound like 2. You're playing with 2 and we want it to sound like 1. That was much, much better. Do you want to put the music rack down so you can hear better? Yeah, you have to stand up and flip the thing down, or maybe it's up there and then it lays back. Okay, good. It blocks the sound sometimes so you can hear better. Can you try those 4 measures again? Right. It's really important that we hear the 2 8 notes on the 3rd beat. It's got a very exotic kind of sound to it. Okay, and again, she's, we're not in Norway anymore. Okay, all right. Now the melody starts. So, since you haven't listened to the orchestra version, have you? Okay, so we're just going to make up whatever instrument it is. So we want it to project a little bit. So flute, oboe, you pick. All right. So just starting in the next measure, then when the melody starts, just play the right hand. Okay, and imagine that instrument. Good. Try it once more. Let it sing out just a little bit more. Okay, good. And you have staccatos on those 8th notes, right? Okay, so try it once more. See if you can make them a little shorter. There you go, yeah. Now, remember, the larger of a mechanism you use for the staccato, the slower it's going to be. So if you can put your staccatos right in the fingertip, so from here up, it's legato, ya da 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 da, and your fingertips are like you're plucking a string. Okay, try it again. That's better. Good. Last time. Good. All right, so now I'm going to ask you to add the left hand, but I'm only going to ask you to play the first note of each measure in the left hand plus your right hand. Leave the chords out. Right, so can you see as soon as your left hand comes in, then your right hand is doing what the left hand did before, is it's kind of backing away and hiding. You really need to, this is about the right hand, okay? That's her doing her flirt thing to try to get his money, okay? Do it once more. Much better. That's great. Now add the chords and see if you can keep that sound in the right hand. Right. So can you do your left hand alone for those 4 measures? Right. So you know you're missing your bass. It kind of goes with us stopping and starting. I have the score here. Do you want to grab this and then we can stop and start a little more easily? Okay.
He has a second one here too.
Excuse me?
He has a second one.
Oh, yeah, I've got it downloaded, so I'm all set. Thank you, though. Okay, so you want to be sure that you anchor that A each time. Okay, so you kind of want to take a look at it and go down. Can you start there again? Good. One more time. See if you can hit the A's. So that's the first thing that I would really concentrate on in here, is that throughout, when you have that target practice bass, which is not a picnic, it's not piano music. That's, you know, we see that in piano music sometimes, but it's not easy. So transcriptions sometimes can be a little bit awkward because they weren't originally written for the piano. So that's when I would really practice your left hand alone so that you really can smack that A comfortably. Okay, so moving on, when you have your hands in octave unison, can you try that? No? Okay, good. So you have some hairpins in, right? A little bit of a crescendo, a little bit of a decrescendo, which you did really well. Now, I want you to do the same thing again, and this time I want you to play the hairpin. I call these hairpins. I want you to play the hairpins with your ear and not your eyes. You know that they're there. I want you to make them, how do you want them to sound, not how does it look. Okay, can you try that? Yeah, so that's a really important thing, and I'm going to be talking about this a lot today. I did yesterday too, is that you want to be sure to remember music is an art of the ear, not the eyes. So we need to use our eyes to see what the composer wants us to do, but at that point then you have to go to your ear and say, all right, he said this and this, how does that sound? Not, it says forte, so I'll play loud, okay? Because that's playing it with your eyes, and you need to make the transition to your ears. That was much, much better that time. It felt much more organic and natural. Good. Start in the same place again and then go on, okay? Okay, so then the next section is kind of a repeat. So let's go to the double bar. All right. Can you play for me just the melody in your right hand? Okay, not all the notes, just the top, just the top single note. Good. Do that again. Okay, play your dynamics with your ears, not your eyes. Try it again. Make it sing. Right. So when it says piano there, you have to, again, think about who this is about. This is program music, okay? So she has an agenda. So when she's doing something soft or something piano, there's real steel behind it, okay? She has an agenda. So you can't turn her into, you know, something like a little chick or a little kitten or whatever. There's no kitten here. So, you know, so she's flirting with it. So it's like, yeah. So it's like she's doing this. Yeah, da, 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 da. That's what the piece is about, okay? So when you have a piano like that, remember that piano and weak are two completely different things. Piano doesn't necessarily have to be weak. So if you look at the back of the room and you pick somebody out, you don't have to tell them who it is, but find a person back there and play piano to that person, okay? Good. Think how you want to shape it. Sort of sing. Good. Last thing I'm going to ask you to try is see if you can release your elbow a little bit, all right? So just imagine that it's a cork. I talked about this some yesterday too. Okay, so you're not going to flap around like a seagull, okay? But it's just like, you know, when a cork is sitting on water, if the water moves at all, the cork just kind of follows that, all right? So release that elbow a little bit and let your arm help shape your phrase, okay? One more time on that melody. Okay, so when I play a note, there, that's better. Yeah, let it follow through. Yeah, da, 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 and float to lip. Yeah, and when you close the phrase, yeah, let your arm again do it. Let it float up. All right, good. Add all your notes in the right hand now, and just the bass note in the left hand, not the chords. Tricky. They're really, really hard. You're going to have to move to do them. Ya, da, 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 da. Do you change fingers when you repeat the third, or do you use the same fingers? Same? Okay. Ya, lift, drop. Ya, lift, drop. Okay, so a little bit of a lift and drop so that they articulate. Try that. There you go. That's it. That was much, much better. Okay? All right, try with the bass, now just the bass note. Okay, so you use different fingering this time. It's easier if you switch fingers. It forces you to come up. When you repeat, which is possible, you have to come up and back down to make it clear. Okay, try it again. So I would, at that spot, talk this over with your teacher and figure out what fingering you want to use and then be really consistent with it, okay? All right, now, this brings me to another issue that sort of came up later, but this is a good place to talk, is you'll notice that there's a pedal mark here, right? And it goes for 4 measures, okay? If you do the pedal mark as it's written, it's going to sound like Anitra fell into a lake and is drowning, okay? It's going to just, it's not going to work. Try it, okay? Just put your foot down for 4 measures. Don't change it. That's not, do exactly what it says. You put it down and keep it, okay? Try it again. Yes, it's absolutely dreadful. Okay, so the thing is that either it was written by somebody who doesn't know anything about the piano, which is possible, or what's more likely is that whoever arranged this, possibly Greig, and Greig, he knew the piano, is saying it should sound like the pedals down here. So what he's telling you is how it should sound, not what you should do. So your instinct was to change it on the downbeat. That's what I would do. Okay, so try it now with a pedal change on the downbeat of each measure. Yes, exactly. It sounds pedaled, okay? All of us in here, or most of us in here, are pianists or piano teachers or parents of pianists or whatever. We all have piano connection. So we know that you're changing the pedal, but just somebody listening is like, oh yeah, the pedal's down. So what you have to do is when you see markings like that, and that issue comes up at the bottom of the page, when you have that really long pedal, again, that you did hold for a long period of time, and part of it is because you've got that bass note that holds for 2 measures, the E flat. Do you see what I'm talking about? Is you're going to have to figure out something there. Bum, 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 bum. Is to hold a fingering change. So 5 to 1 switch. Okay, so watch my hand here. So you're going to go da-yum, bum, bum. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, so that pedaling I thought was awesome. That sounded really, really good. So throughout, when you see these long 4-measure pedal indications, go ahead and use the pedal, but again, trust your ear, okay, because you don't want to drown Anitra, okay? So that's one thing I would be careful of. Now, in the next system, in the second line, you have forte piano, and then you have another forte piano at the beginning of the third line, right? Okay, so this is an example, again, of where you see forte piano. Now you have to think, okay, how do I want that to sound? Because right now, and you do exactly what it says. You play a big forte and then a piano, but I don't know what the purpose of it is, kind of, So you have to take what you see and translate it. So, what is the effect that you want there sound-wise? Okay, can you just try it right there? Boom, boom. That was better. Your staccatos are a little tight again. Yum, bum, bum, bum. So I just want to try a technical thing with you. Is play this for me a little slower, all right? And I want you to play everything legato. Ya da da da. Can you make your arms nice and free? So just those couple measures. Ya da da da, be da 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 da. Right, okay? 3 more times. Yeah, no forte piano, just nice smooth legato. Now try and see if you can free your arms a little bit. Oh, that was excellent. Now, from your knuckles up, I want it to feel exactly the same way, and I want your fingertips to just go like you're scratching on there, okay? Try that. No forte piano, just better, again. Flowing. Yeah, Sean, that's better. That's the idea, okay? So what happens is that when you see those staccatos, and this has a lot of staccatos in it, is your arms tend to tighten up, and then you sort of end up fighting yourself. So in a case like this, especially when they're fast and in sort of a scale-like pattern, practice it legato. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da. Just, this is a really good exercise even when you're practicing scales. Is as legato as you can. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da. And now, yum, bum, 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 bum. Your arm is doing the exact same thing, okay? So the last thing that I'll say about arm, and then I have 1 or 2 short things, and then I'll stop screaming at you, is that think about when you're playing the piano as trying to play like a singer. So singer has to breathe. And then the sound comes out. This is your lungs as a pianist. Your arm has to breathe. You have a breathing arm. Okay? This is your mouth. Okay? Singers work on having resonance in their heads. Our resonance is in that 9-foot black box there. Okay? So the thing you really need to think about is let your arm breathe. Exhale. And this is where you articulate the words and the pitches. Okay? But your arms are doing the breathing for you. Okay, so one spot at the bottom of the page, when you have that scale, when that comes back and then the left hand does it, do you see where I am? Double check your fingering there, okay? Just be sure that when you have something fast and staccato, you have to be able to play it legato, okay? So you don't want to do things like 3-3 or, some kind of, like, it'll tighten you up. So check your fingering by being sure it works legato. Then you stay legato, knuckles up, and put your staccato in your fingertips. This bottom system is another pedal spot that you need to tweak a little bit, okay, so that it sounds like it's got pedal, but it's not muddy or unclear. Can you just try your left hand with the grace note and the E flat, ba-ya, switch, yeah, and then switch to your pinky, so you can hold it down. Right, there you go, and you hold it down for 2 measures. Ba-ya, bum, bum. I think you have enough time with that quarter rest that I think you can do it. You have to get right up there, but I would practice that alone, okay? Because I think that'll work better. So, yeah, so the last, again, you know, most of the stuff that comes afterwards are some things that we've talked about, okay? So the big takeaways are practice the fast staccato passages legato. Be sure that your fingering works in legato. Watch out for the pedaling, and be sure that you know what you want it to sound like, okay? And check out the orchestration. I think you might find it interesting. All right, good. It was a pleasure to hear you. Thanks.